Did you know the Toyota Highlander can do this? How about this? We put Toyota's three-row family crossover to the test on this episode of Driving Sports TV. Since we've been running the gauntlet of midsize crossovers of late, it's high time we reviewed the 2019 Toyota Highlander. This is Toyota's SUV for families that like a little adventure, but don't need something as extreme as a Toyota 4Runner or as expensive as a Toyota Land Cruiser. It competes directly with the Honda Pilot, the Subaru Ascent, Ford Explorer, the Dodge Durango, and any other three-row light-duty crossover. The current generation of the Highlander was introduced about 5 years ago. So where the Ascent and the Pilot are all new this year, the Highlander is still trying to be competitive with a rig that made its debut before K-pop was really a thing. The model we're testing here is the sporty mid-range SE with all-wheel drive. Refreshed for 2019, this trim spec gets blacked-out headlights, taillights, wheels, and fog surrounds. Our test vehicle also added in the optional second-row Blu-ray entertainment, plus upgraded floor and cargo mats. Price as you see it here, $45,019, including destination. Overall, I think the SE package makes for a very nice look. On the surface, pretty normal, but with a slight edginess about it. It's like Ned Flanders in black leather.
Hi, diddly ho!
Under the hood is Toyota's trusty 3.5-liter V6. Here it puts out 295 horsepower and 263 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty decent. Horsepower is bang on with the Dodge Durango, and it has 15 more ponies compared to the Honda Pilot. EPA rates it at 20 miles to the gallon city and 26 on the highway. At this trim level, you only get one transmission choice, the direct shift 8-speed automatic, paired with the dynamic torque control all-wheel drive system. On lower trims, you can also option a 4 or 6-cylinder with front-wheel drive. Once the powered rear door opens, and it is one of the slowest I've used recently, you'll see that the cargo capacity is pretty generous. With all the seats up, you get 13.8 cubic feet. Fold the third row down and you get 42.3. With all the rows folded flat, 83.7 cubic feet. Slightly smaller than both the Subaru Ascent's 86.5 max capacity and the Dodge Durango's 85.1 cubic feet, but well within spitting distance. The Highlander also has a handy secret cubby under the floor next to a basic tool set to change a flat. With all the seats back in place, the third row is not something you would wish upon an adult, though it is fine for a small child. The second row is much better with separate aircon, a flip-up drink holder, and ours was also equipped with the optional $1,810 Blu-ray entertainment system. Hey kids, remember playing movies on discs? We had to pull a disc out from the 2009 Oregon Trail Rally since we didn't have anything else in the office to play on the system. Up front, the cabin is pleasant and straightforward with shades of black and gray. Leather seats also have some contrast stitching in red, which looks nice and gives the Highlander a look worthy of the price point. The seating position is very comfortable, thanks to the 12-way adjustable seats that were also heated. The center bin was useful, but I couldn't get over how weird the access door was. Climate controls are dual zone with traditional dials and buttons that are straightforward. In its other vehicles, Toyota is slowly moving to a more modern infotainment system. But unfortunately, the Highlander soldiers on with the old one. Though functional with maps, XM radio, and mobile device access via USB, it does lack CarPlay and Android Auto. One thing that Toyota has done right is offer their Safety Sense system as standard equipment across all their popular models. The Highlander includes pre-collision warning with pedestrian detection, lane departure alerts with steering assist, auto high beams, dynamic cruise control, blind spot monitors, and rear cross-traffic alerts. Of course, it also has a rear-view camera, since that is now mandatory on all new cars. The SE also has a standard sunroof. Standard. No panorama option, though. Now, with all the facts and figures sorted, let's see how it does on a variety of slightly adventurous situations in the Cascade Mountains. But first, we have to get there. Let's see how it does on a normal paved road. Wow, that V6 has some kick, that's for sure. So what makes this SE so special edition-y? It's the fact that this vehicle has sport tune suspension. It's a lot stiffer than the standard Highlander, which is kind of a funny idea, you know? A whole like sporty 3-row crossover. It's not usually why people buy crossovers. Although I guess it'll attract a certain buyer. Okay, let's try some corners here, see how the suspension feels. This is a real undulating road, kind of goes up a little bit, goes around, and then we kind of go slow into this corner and throttle out. Come on, pick it up, pick it up. Oh, that was like 4 seconds after I put the throttle down before it really kicked in. I think we need to go into manual mode here and see how that does. You know, it's funny. This is a front-wheel drive oriented vehicle, and it feels like it when that all-wheel drive system, even when it kicks in, it gives you a little bit more balance in the corners, but it doesn't give you that all-wheel drive performance feel, which is what I like. Throttle into the corner. I can feel it assisting back there. It is doing something, and what it's doing is not insignificant, but it's not giving me that yaw moment rotation. I mean, even the Honda Pilot with its iVTM4 gives you a little bit more of that feeling because it actually is a torque vectoring system. This one, not so much. Turning off into the woods, I encounter the first obstacle, a small water crossing. It's important to note that the Highlander only has 8.1 inches of clearance, which is quite a bit less than the Subaru Ascent's 8.7 inches. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, rocket. Before we venture further, let's touch on Toyota's dynamic torque control all-wheel drive system that comes standard on the Highlander SE. This is the same system that now comes on the base trim 2019 RAV4 with all-wheel drive. We'll have a full video talking about how this system works in a few weeks. But for now, all you need to understand that is in spite of the name, it's not a torque vectoring system. Basically, it shifts power to the back wheels when necessary, sending up to 50% of available torque to the rear. Okay, now we're going to put this dynamic torque control all-wheel drive system to the test. And you know what that means? It's the uphill S-curve. So I'm going to put the car into drive. There are no sport modes. It is just what it is. And it'll just put to work that V6 and 8-speed automatic. We'll let it do its thing. As I go around the corner, I'm going to mosh the throttle and see how much the car gets disrupted on this gravelly surface. And go. Oh, feels like it's pulling me up from the front. Go around the corner and mosh the throttle. Actually, there was a little bit of rotation there. I could feel it. May not be able to see it, but I could feel it as the back kind of dug in a little bit. It actually was more aggressive than I was expecting from Toyota. Interesting. You know, I have to say, I was predisposed to not be totally excited by the Highlander because I just got out of the Honda Pilot. I just got out of the Acura MDX. Those have the great SH all-wheel drive system and ITM4, and they're all new, and they have that great V6, great drivetrain. But I have to say, I'm really enjoying this Highlander. It actually is really a fun car to drive on these roads. It's actually more fun to drive on the gravel. Although, again, the suspension's a little tight for this type of surface. Let's rotate, throttle. There's a little rotation there. Oh, yeah, feeling it. Oh, yeah. When it's not needed, the system does revert back to 100% power to the front wheels to improve economy. Let's continue on. Ooh, is this a bad idea? It might be. Sorry, Toyota, in advance. Okay, 8 inches of ground clearance. And that's super rocky. I think this is rockier than last time I was here. That's kind of the trouble with these things. It snows, it rains, the roads erode more. It just is a very challenging setup. And you gotta be super careful not to break your oil pan. So we're just gonna crawl up this. That's doing great so far. Knock on wood. Dynamic torque control actually seems to be working pretty well here in the real world. I got to admit, on paper, was not impressed. Sounded like everybody else's dial-it-ins. Nope, and it worked again. Just when I think it's not going to make it, it does just fine. This looks like it's going to be more challenging. What's the line? What's the line? I think the line is panicking. Oh boy. Listen for rubbing. Hope there's no rubbing. And come on, dynamic torque control. Whoa, it worked! Now my foot is just down on the gas and it's doing its own thing. Let's kind of work it. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, I was full throttle. Didn't need to do that. That was a bit much. Wow, really, really impressed with this system. I mean, granted, it's not going to replace proper lockers or anything like that. I mean, I haven't hit any buttons. I am just driving the system in its default setup. Oh, are we done now?
I couldn't find specifications on just how much articulation the Highlander has versus the competition, but that certainly looks like it's doing a lot more than what we saw the Subaru Forester doing on the same road. Extended reach means the Highlander can maintain grip on rougher surfaces, giving the all-wheel drive system a chance to really do its job.
Okay. Oh. Can we make it? Make sure we're not scratching anything. Yes! It made it! Ha! Dang. That's impressive. You know, it's not afraid to put power to the back, and that's really impressive. On paper, this just sounded like another on-demand, safety-only system, but in reality, it's actually a lot of fun to drive with. Now, I do have traction control on completely here. I'm not doing anything weird. This traction control is on. I haven't even put on snow mode, and I haven't even done the ratio lock either. This is just as it is, and it's doing a fantastic job. Really, really, really fun. We're gonna come up here and let's try a complete stop and mash the throttle and see what it does. Complete stop. And 3, 2, 1, go. Traction control, once it tracks straight, does a really good job. I mean, that is so controlled and predictable. And predictable is what's really important when you're in the snow. Now this is a particularly nice snowfall because it's fresh. It's very even. There's no iced out ruts that I have to worry about. And I can just kind of have fun with it, which is great.
Even in the snow, the system does a great job of maintaining control. And if you shut off the traction control system, it's even up for a bit of fun. Donuts! Even though we packed all these adventures into a single day, we didn't get any overheating in the all-wheel drive system, and the Highlander constantly surpassed my expectations. Sure, it's not the sexiest thing on paper, but the 2019 Highlander SE is actually a really worthwhile rig to consider if you need a 3-row crossover with decent capability for some weekend adventures. If you need even more capability, I think the Subaru Ascent is a better choice in this price range, mainly due to the increased ground clearance made it to an excellent all-wheel drive system. But also keep in mind that the Highlander is due for a refresh in the next couple years. I think if they can build on what they have here, add in some updated entertainment, and spice up the all-wheel drive system with the torque vectoring system introduced on the RAV4 Adventure, and then Toyota will quite likely take the lead once again. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Would you hang out with a heavy metal Ned Flanders? Post a comment below. Also, be sure to like and subscribe. We do read all your comments.